pleased to welcome to the program Chief Mike Banks, who's the Chief of the U.S. Border Patrol. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Your colleague Tom Homan likes to say every day feels like Christmas morning here. He gets up and just is amazed at the level of progress that you've made. I assume you share that sentiment. Tell us what you're most proud of.
I tell you, two of the things I'm most proud of. 0, that's the number of releases that the U.S. Border Patrol has released in this country, 4 months and running. And then the other number I'm most proud of is the level of control we've been able to get the border under in 6-7 short months with not a single change to law and without a single dime given to us. We have made massive successes. Right now, we are seeing an average of about 150 people a day attempt to enter the country illegally. You compare that to thousands a day. There were days where there were 10,000 a day under the previous administration crossing this country illegally. And last month, we set a record for the history of the Border Patrol for the lowest number of entries into this country illegally that were apprehended. It was just over 4,000. Compare that to 10,000 a day under the prior administration.
How have you accomplished that in such a short period of time?
So I will tell you, it's been with the help of the President, with the President of the United States that supports the Border Patrol the way he does, with the Secretary and Secretary Nome, making sure that what we're really doing is we're taking a whole of government approach at securing our border. So we've got ATF agents, we've got DEA, we've got National Guard, we've got Department of Defense resources out there. We are truly have created a human wall on that border, and so you now know that if you cross this border illegally, the certainty of arrest is there. And then in addition to that, we don't release anyone. We prosecute. We prosecute them for violating the law. And once they're done with the prosecution and they've served their sentence, we're deporting them out of this country. And so we're providing a consequence for violating the law. And that is amazing at the number we've been able to drive down because, you know, under the prior administration, it was pretty much come in, surrender to the Border Patrol. People would look for us to surrender. Imagine that. I'm going to commit a crime and immediately look for a law enforcement officer to surrender to them. But the certainty of consequence and the deportation is what's really helped drive those numbers down.
Yeah, I have been amazed to be there at the border several times and see how it was under the Biden administration and see people literally come across the Rio Grande with a bag of their goods, stripped down when they got there and put their dry clothes back on and, basically have the sheriff and other people waiting for them and take them off to some holding center that was unfortunately facilitating a lot of the invasion, if you will, by non-government organizations who, appreciate it. What has been done on that front? Are they out of there? Are NGOs gone completely? Are they going to be held accountable? What happens with them? And
so the administration is looking to hold accountable the NGOs. The NGOs are crying right now. They're crying they're not receiving billions of dollars a year of taxpayer money to fund and house illegal immigration. And so we have no need for them because we don't hold those numbers now. We prosecute them, send them off, they serve their sentence, and they're released. And so you'll see where a lot of the prior NGOs that made billions off of U.S. taxpayer dollars to help encourage illegal immigration to this country. There's just no need for that.
I want to ask you a little bit about the additional resources that were in the One Big Beautiful Bill related to more agents, more infrastructure. Obviously, you don't turn that on in a second, but what do you have now? What did you get immediately? What else do you need?
And so the Big Beautiful Bill was I mean, I don't want to say it was a godsend, but it was needed so bad. The U.S. Border Patrol's resources have been so depleted over the prior 4 years. The prior administration pretty much stole any dollar that wasn't nailed down, that was assigned for border security or appropriated for border security, and used it to do the opposite. And so we've got substantial financing now for border infrastructure. When I talk about a border wall, I want to be very clear. It's a border wall system. And what that comes with, it comes with lighting, it comes with ground sensing technology, it comes with cameras so we can see the threat approaching. So we're going to be building a lot of wall. We're going to be putting a lot of buoys in the river. And so we're going to be hiring additional manpower, right? And of course, that takes time to get them through the training. I'm always often, how much longer are you going to need the assistance from all these other agencies? It's like, well, you can't create a consequence and then pull back the people that can provide that consequence. So we're going to hold on to those resources until we get these additional agents hired and get them through the training process. And one of the things we're doing is we are paying particular close attention to the northern border and our coastal sectors, which have not really received the resource and funding anywhere because everything was so focused on the southwest border. So we're going to spread those resources out appropriately based on the threat. And our northern border is a big concern for us because if you go back to the prior administration, you may recall a lot of those people that crossed that were on the terror data watch list were actually crossing on the northern border, because of the vast openness. And so we're going to shut that down.
I want to ask you more about the northern border in a moment. Before I do, you mentioned the wall. Again, there was efforts in the first administration to do that. They were shut off, obviously, by the Biden administration. Even reports that they were rummage sailing all of the border wall that was laying on the ground. You can't even wrap your mind around that. But we're from North Dakota, Minnesota. Tommy Fisher is a friend, and he's built a lot of wall. Fisher Industries, North Dakota company. Are the contracts being led? Are they being fast-tracked? Like, how fast can they restart?
So we've already restarted. We are currently building wall in 6 different locations. I was just down in San Diego where we're completing some wall. So we're going to continue building wall, and we're getting these contracts out as fast as possible. I always like to say all gas, no brakes downhill. I do not want to leave a single picket to a fence laying on the ground by the end of 2028. And so we're being very aggressive, and we want to get it done brick and mortar in the ground so we can't find ourselves in another situation where another administration can come in and just sell off wall. The other thing that I think is very interesting is we're going back to these companies that bidded for this wall material at pennies on the dollar. Imagine that. The U.S. government spent billions of dollars building out these panels to put up, and the Biden administration came in and started selling them off for pennies on the dollar. We're working with them to get that back so that we can continue building faster. And so there's a lot of work out there to be done, but I tell you what, we are not slowing down. I just like to say, if you see how much we got done before the big beautiful bill came, now that we've got financing to do more, we're going to do a lot, and we're going to do it fast.
I understand there's some coats of paint going on the wall as well. The president intricately involved in that, as he has in the previous administration. What will that do?
So a couple of things. I was just down with Secretary Noem this past Monday or Tuesday in El Paso, where we were painting some of the wall that went up. And so painting the wall does 2 things. One, it protects our investment. It's still, if we don't paint it and protect it, it's going to rust. So it'll extend the life of that wall, right? We want to make sure we're being smart with the taxpayers' dollars. But it's black paint, and black gets hotter in the sun, right? And you don't want to grab a fence post that's been painted black in the middle of the summer. And so it's just one more avenue of a deterrent that we're having to people that would try to come into the country illegally.
I've heard that the challenges of building wall on federal land, is something. You got another layer of bureaucracy there. I've heard people say that there's many privately owned land down there that would happily give an easement for that. Is that being integrated along with federal lands?
So absolutely, right. So we have a lot of landowners down there that want the wall through their property, and so what they'll do is they'll lease us or sell us the easement rights, and we'll go through there, and then it connects to the federal wall, right. We're also looking at a lot of the wall that the state of Texas built during the last 4 years of making sure all of that wall connects. One of the great things about the wall in the state of Texas is they built it to U.S. Border Patrol standards, and so we can easily integrate that into our wall.
Let's talk a little bit about the northern border. As you know, we're up north. You told me earlier you've been there. We've had a story not long ago about some Chinese nationals that were crossing the border, and they came across into North Dakota, and I don't know if they were trafficked or whatever, but they died because of the extreme cold. But it kind of disturbs you that Chinese nationals are coming, and why are they coming in and whatnot. What is the threat there? Who are you seeing there? Is it drugs? Is it for, to embed? Is it terrorists? What is the element coming in the northern border?
And so I think it's a little bit of everything, right? I mean, border security is absolutely national security, right? When you have predominantly military-age adult males from communist countries coming into your country, there's a significant concern there. Fentanyl, we see a lot of fentanyl coming in from Canada, and we know how deadly fentanyl is. And so our biggest goal right now is focusing on situational awareness, being able to see and detect anything that crosses into this border between a port of entry, and then being able to respond to that. And so we're investing very heavily on the northern border, because we know that why would you start trying to come to the southern border when you have this vast opening, expansive areas on the northern border. So we're investing very heavily in that. Also with our AMO, Air and Marine Office technology, working on persistent surveillance with high-flying drones that can keep a 24/7 surveillance on the border. First and foremost, you got to see it, detect it, know it's there, and then be able to respond to it. And so we're making sure that we can do that. We have the situational awareness and to be able to respond to that.
Yeah, and I've been up there. I mean, you don't know if you're in North Dakota, Minnesota, or Canada, literally. Out on the water, same thing, you have no idea when you cross. So I would assume that's all about digital assets and drones and sensors and whatnot. Do you have enough hardware? Do you have enough of those resources now, or is that part of the plus up from the recently passed legislation?
So we don't have enough right now, but we're getting there with the support of the president, support from Secretary Noem, and the funding we got from Congress and the big beautiful bill. We're going to be able to get to 100% situation awareness on the northern border, the southern border, and the coastal, and we're going to get there fast.
And last thing I'll ask you about that is, I mean, the agents, you touched on this earlier, but we heard during the Biden administration the one thing that they were trying to supposedly look as though they were worried about this, but they would peel off assets from the northern border to the southern border. So again, I know you can't do it overnight, but is there short staffing at the northern border still today?
So the U.S. Border Patrol is understaffed everywhere we're at, but what we're not doing is robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so what we're doing is we're making sure that we're making up for the lack of staffing with technology, but we're continuing to build that staffing back up. It doesn't matter what we see if we don't have the troops on the ground that can actually make the interdiction and put those handcuffs on them. And so shoring up our losses on the northern border are very important to us, and a good portion of the additional agents we receive funding for in the big beautiful bill are going to be sent to the northern border.
Yeah, very crucial for sure. Wanted to also ask you a little bit about just the morale of the Border Patrol. When I was at the southern border again early in the Biden administration, Tom Homan was along, and Mark Morgan, who was high up in the previous administration, and they would talk with the Border Patrol agents, and they were quite candid about just how demoralized they were, so sad to see what was happening. I would assume you've cured much of that. How do you do it? How do you go about doing that?
So I think the biggest thing for morale on the northern border, well, in the border period, is agents being allowed to do their job. We recruit a specific type of person. We recruit people that want to be outdoors, that want to be in that vast open space, that are okay out in remote areas where they can go out and work, right? People that want to be on horseback, ATVs, snowmobiles. And when they're not allowed to do their job, right, it's obviously going to affect morale. I just came back from the southern border yesterday. I came back from the northern border 2 weeks ago, headed back to the northern border. I think the main thing is showing the agents we support them and that we expect them to go out and enforce the law, and that we're going to have their backs when they're out there enforcing the law, making sure we're resourcing them properly, training them properly. But morale's gone through the roof. A lot of people are not aware of this, but under the prior administration, I chose to retire, and I retired, and then I was picked up by Governor Abbott in the state of Texas to be the first Texas border czar. And so I served for 2 years under Governor Abbott running their border defenses, which we were having huge successes. And I was asked to come back by this administration. I proudly came back, and so I can tell you without a doubt that the morale is highest I've seen it in my career. And I've been on the border in one form or another for over 33 years, and I've never seen the level of morale that we have right now. But it's, number one, allowing agents to actually go out and honor the oath they took to protect the country, and then the second thing is empowering them and getting rid of policies that were created by the prior administration that usurped law and prevented them from being to go out and do their job. I don't see it going anywhere but up. We're going to keep pushing as we continue to get them resourced appropriately. We continue to see that morale.
In the meantime, I know North Dakota, South Dakota too have sent National Guard assets to places. I'm not sure northern border, but I've heard a lot about southern border. Is that continuing to happen, and do you still need them?
And so it is continuing to happen. I know that when I was serving in Texas during the Biden administration, we got soldiers from both North and South Dakota, and they were a godsend, not just a governor's send, but it was amazing. So we still have those DoD resources, National Guard resources, along with other federal law enforcement partners. And as we get staffed up appropriately in the Border Patrol back to where we needed to be, we will be able to slowly dial back on those resources and get them back to their states. I will tell you this, our recruitment numbers, last month we set a goal for a number of people that apply to join the Border Patrol. We currently have 1,000 plus trainees at the academy, going through the academy right now, which is another record for us. So there's two records that I really like to talk about. 0 releases by the Border Patrol, lowest record numbers in the history of the Border Patrol on people trying to come into the country illegally, and the highest number of people applying to come into the Border Patrol. So imagine that. You're allowed to go out and do your job, you're allowed to go out and honor your oath, and people want to be a part of that.
Amazing. Chief Banks, thank you. Thanks to everyone down, rank and file, every member of the CBP. We pray for you every day and appreciate your defense of this great country.
Hey, thank you. I'm so happy to be back, and we're having a great time.